Was it Haku or Barbarian that bit the guy's nose off?
I think it was Haku.
Yeah.
I tell you, I could never figure it out. You know, you look at Haku, and people would pick a fight with him. And I mean, if you walked in a room with 100 people and you saw Haku, that'd be the one guy you wouldn't want to.
Well,
and he is the greatest, nicest guy out of anybody. But man, if you pissed him off, holy cow.
They were drinking at a bar. We weren't there. We were on the tour, but we weren't there. And they went to this one bar, redneck bar or something, and somebody made a racial comment about him. And he, of course, took offense to it. And they challenged him, and he wiped them up.
You made a couple appearances on air in WCW before you were introduced as a manager. One was in the Ric Flair reinstatement vignette, and the other was as a martial arts referee for Ming versus Jim Duggan at Uncensored.
Yeah, wow, what was it? Yeah, that I was so nervous. You know, I mean, like I said, especially that match. You know, knowing Ming, I mean, Haku is like, you know, he's legitimately the most scariest man in professional wrestling, if it's not that I have experienced. I have seen, I think Colonel Parker was another manager. He had a managed Ming at one point, and I think we were in Baltimore, and I remember we went out to eat and we came back and there was a police surrounding Ming. And Colonel Parker and his whole gimmick was a white hanky waving at the cops, asking them not to shoot Ming. I see Ming, gentlest man ever. I mean, he loved holding my babies. When my kid would come to, you know, we were all, because we were like a big family at Disney when we were doing Disney TV taping. Kindest man, and so is Barbarian. But, you know, they're just scary, right? I mean, you can hit them over the head. Because, you know, they used to break coconut with their heads. So you can mace them and they'll look at you. I didn't experience this myself, but I do believe it's that incident in Baltimore that I was told, and I don't know this to be true, but other witness has told me that the female policeman had sprayed him with a mace. And Ming snatched that spray from the cop and sprayed himself and gave it back to her. I mean, I seen him bending over a guy over like a jukebox or something. And I think that was one of the Brian Knobb's cousin or something. And you know, he had, you know, literally the death grip on this guy. Randy Savage had to calm Ming down and tell him that he's got to go to his room now. I think those guys are great when they're drinking maybe, you know, light beers, but you don't want to be around them when they're drinking the firewater stuff. You know, I mean, I believe right now, I think last time I heard, and I'm not sure he still is, but he was a sales manager at the Toyota store in Florida.
I believe he still is, yeah.
Can you imagine now? You buying a car and you're trying to hag with... Tell your manager to come out here. I want to talk to him. I want to get a new carpet in my car. If you don't... And can you imagine Ming showing up? I mean, that would be a scary deal.
A lot of people say he would have done well in MMA, but from the stories I hear, he's doing a lot of tactics that would be considered illegal in competitive sports.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was wondering what your opinion is and how you would fight in a real sport.
Oh my God, I can't imagine. I you know, your best defense on that is what we tell all our martial arts students is to turn and run fast as you can. Because I don't know, aside from having, you know, sharp blades or a firearm, I wouldn't know how, you know, because you couldn't hit them with a stick. They'll look at you. You know, those guys break coconut with their head when they were young. So, you know, I mean, he literally, I think that man would literally rip you in half with his bare hand. I mean, that was his tactic anyway. You know, every time I seen him, you know, he just grab him, his hands, goes in a guy's mouth and thumb in a guy's throat. I mean, he just grab you and, you know, you're paralyzed at that point. You know, I mean, you got probably 6.5 seconds before your light goes out. I mean, he's just a scary guy. And you're right, MMA, he'd probably be DQ'd, but it's kind of I think Ming's attitude is tell your mama you won. I mean, he's a scary individual.
That Ming was something else, man. Got in trouble in a bar with him one night, I have to tell you real quick, and he grabbed a guy's throat, wouldn't let go, choked him out. And Ric Flair says, get him out, get him out, get him out. So me and Pittman, the Sergeant Pittman, the Bulldog, we start off down the street and we got Ming, and he's been drinking Jack Daniels, and he don't drink, but this night he's drinking it. And here comes the cops. Cars all around us and surround. We didn't get to the car, and as soon as they get out of the car, and the cop comes over and he says, "Get your hands behind your back." And Ming says, "Nope, won't do it. I'm not going to do it. My hands don't go behind my back. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it." And the cop saying, "You get your hands behind your back," and then Pittman screams out, "Man says no cuffs!" like that, loud. And I say, "Oh crap, we're all going to get shot. We're all going to get something." I'm trying to get Pittman, stay back and pick the thing, talk to the cop and say, "Listen, you do something where you don't have to do that, because his hands won't go behind his back to put handcuffs on. He's too big." And and the cop is one of these guys that he listens. And I'm telling Bulldog, please don't say any more. Let me handle this where we don't all get shot here tonight, because these guys see the danger in you two guys, and I'm standing in the middle. Poor Rob. There you are. So I mean, he could be volatile, and he could be, but the nicest son of a gun. I spent 3 years going down the road with him, the best 3 years I ever had in my life.
I went up to New York, where I'm from, and my dad knew Arnie Skolin, who was in the WWF. And they brought me down to a show, and I was a relatively big guy back then, and they did jobs for Angelo Mosca, Ken Patera, Sergeant Slaughter, and they kind of took a liking to me. And they said, "Kid, you might have a future, but come up with something better than Big Jim, and we're going to send you out to learn how to wrestle." And I'm thinking, where are they going to? They ended up sending me to Hawaii, where I went out and worked with the High Chief Peter Maivia, and met one of my best friends of my life, Ming Haku, and it was a great time. Even though we were making about $25-30 a week, all the guys lived together. It was a fun time in the business.
Everyone always talks about Haku's toughness. Do you have any stories regarding that?
Well, any of the island guys, I tell you, were just a tough group of people. I mean, Haku, Snuka, the Samoans. I mean, but Haku was probably well known as one of the tougher guys in our business, and he was a jerk magnet. He'd walk into a bar and every guy would come up and mess with Haku, but it ended up he bit a tip of a guy's nose off in a fight that the guy started, but the guy sued him and really hurt Ming bad. So a guy like Ming, or any of us actually, it's hard sometimes to go out, because if you meet 100 people, 99 are cool, but there's one guy, you want to arm wrestle me? You look bigger on TV, so sometimes it's hard to go out without security.
One of the guys that you mentioned that you wrestled a lot in your WWE days was Haku.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on your matches with him? We've been using him up in Canada lately.
He's great. I just saw him wrestle 2 weeks ago. He was in a tag team match. And I wrestled him about 7 or 8 months ago down in West Virginia. It brought back such good memories to me, because when I went up there in 1990, especially when you're at that stage of your career, I was still a young guy, going to the WWF, and you walk in and there's all these stars that you've seen and grown up watching on television. And, I luckily got put with Haku. It's an intimidating place, dressing room, to walk in the first time anyway. And early on in my run there, I went to the Brawler and some of the underneath guys for a while. But then when they put me with Haku, I was a little intimidated. I didn't really know him yet. and the stories in the dressing room were renowned already about what a tough guy he was and is. And I remember that we were Madison Square Garden, and I used to do the blind turnaround crossbody, and he shot me, and it's called crossbody, so he shoots me in, and I grab the second turnbuckle on the top rope, and I look back over my shoulder, and he's all the way back in the other turnbuckle, and I'm like, I know I can't make that far, and but I'm already in the process of doing the move, so I throw myself as far as I can, and I look back and I see him, like in slow motion. He stops. He goes, and his hands. I remember his hands going like this, running with this look on his face, full bore at me. And he jumps and throws himself into me, and actually carried me like another 3 or 4 feet up into the air. I was probably 230 at the time, and it was like getting hit by a car. Working with Haku was phenomenal because he had such legitimacy. I keep saying past tense. He has such legitimacy, but he taught you at the same time. He got his heat, got himself in, like the saying in the business, make him before you take him, right? And Haku was exceptional at that. And when people talk about, you go through the pantheon of the great names, right? Who's the greats of this generation and that generation? Haku's name rarely gets thrown in there, always with the tough guy comments. I thought Haku was and is a hell of a wrestler. I thought he was damn good at what he did.
What do you think about the reputation Haku has in professional wrestling? Do you think it's legitimate? There's all these stories about him being the toughest wrestler that's ever lived in pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that going around in the business, and if you have to kind of prove yourself. Brock Lesnar, I think he's proved himself. Haku, I don't know his background. I don't know much about it, but he is what he is.
If he had bar fights after that, there were a couple of guys. I had one in my territory too, King Tonga.
Yeah.
He used to, and when I had the business, I wouldn't tolerate. I said, "You guys are professionals. Try to behave like professionals."
Now, King Tonga, his stories have become legendary now. Do you have any examples of some amazing...
Yeah, I've got one time in Quebec City, the cops came in, they said, don't go out that door, because I think they were called the Caruso or something. Anyway, 2 brothers, supposedly street fighters, tough guys. So they got, because they said, take that door and everything. He said, no, I'm going out that door. So by the time the cops, they start following him, by the time he got out there, one of them was laid out, the other one, he had half his teeth already out, broken out of his mouth. He just didn't care. Another time, another guy came in and said, oh, yeah, you phony wrestlers, you fakers, this and that, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, he's going, yeah. And the guy pushed him, kind of. As soon as he touched him, that was a mistake. I've never seen a guy hit the floor so hard and not move. I don't know. He hit him, I think it was... First he hit him with a kick in the ribs, and the guy went like this, and as he did after that, with his open hand, I think he hit him under the nose, and the guy just collapsed there. That was it.
Yesterday at the Legends lunch, I noticed that you and Ming were very close.
Very, very close, because when he came over here, he lived with me
Okay.
in Tampa, and he was only 18 years old, and he spoke very little English. They did nothing with him here, did jobs every night, but I didn't charge him or anything, and he stayed with me, and I helped him, and he never forgot it. I'm very close with him, and he lives here now, and he comes up and visits me and us. Then he'll come up and visit Dwayne when Dwayne's home.
Did you ever see one of his infamous barroom altercations?
I've seen a couple of them.
Could you share any of those?
Yeah, where it take 10 guys to beat him, he go to you like a dose of Epsom salts. He was a tough guy. When he fought Jesse Barr, God bless him, he passed on now. That was the worst beating I ever seen somebody. I was trying to pull him off and I couldn't hold him.
That was
just
the
like
one.
they snap,
I guess Jesse, is that the one where he made a racist comment or
Yeah,
something?
he made the racist comment, and they went outside, I mean, then he pulled his eye out, then he stomped on it. And, you know, when Jesse passed on, he only had that one eye. They go right for the jugular vein.
Would you say that he's probably the toughest or one of the top?
I would say he'd be the top 3. If I had to pick anybody, I'd pick him.
Okay. Who would the other 2 be if you put?
I say Harley Race was tough.
Yeah.
Very tough. The third one I'd have to think, but.
Did you ever see Haku in action in a bar fight?
I'd always see it afterwards. I never saw any of the things he done. I'd always hear the stories. And by the way, he's a dear friend of mine. His wife is a dear friend of mine. His daughter that graduated from Florida State is a sweet friend of mine. Her husband Rodney, I know a lot of the families and a lot of the connections. But Haku is just as sweet a guy. And I remember when he first came in here, he was we just connected. Of course, him and Barbarian were cousins, right? Barb and Haku. And like many of those island guys, they can be alone. He didn't really want to be. They can go in where they want to because they can handle themselves, most of them. And he's one of those guys too. But sweet guys, family guys, but they got that little but Haku never did. I never had no problems with him. We used to have great matches. It was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and I versus Haku and Andre the Giant. Oh, what funny matches! And Andre would start laughing. I remember one time Haku tried in Glens Falls, New York. That's where Jim's from. Haku tried to do a leapfrog over Haku. Haku tried to do it over Duggan, and he got hung up on his butt, and they fell. And Andre's in one corner laughing his ass off, and I'm in my corner like, it's funny. It's the most funny thing. And then these two are laughing. So and the fans are laughing. So it was like, yeah. But Haku's a good friend of mine. I don't see him enough, and I know I think he lives down in Florida, and I think about him and his wife all the time. But he's a good guy. To me, I never saw him in action. I'd always hear about it later, and I could see that. Because he trained in a couple of those sumo schools in Japan when he was a kid, and they were going to make him a sumo wrestler, but somewhere in the interim of that, he become a pro wrestler.
Last night got a chance to spend some time with Haku Ming. He's had a bunch of names, and I think of all the guys in the business, if somebody said to me, put your hand to the fire, who's the toughest of them all? I would have to say Haku. And I always make the thing, if I was at war and I was behind enemy lines and in a foxhole and worrying about where I was being surrounded and my life being at risk, and I could have one guy in the foxhole with me, who would that guy be? That would be Haku.
How did you like your matches with Ming and Barbarian in WCW?
Great. Ming is two of the greatest guys in this world, Ming and Barbarian. But Ming's one of the guys you don't want to get pissed off at, on the other side. I remember Ming, one time, Ming used to wrestle in Montreal for the Rougeaus.
Right.
And I remember Hawk and I would go up there for the Rougeaus, and we were heels. And one time, we were beating the dog snot out of Jacques Rougeau and his brothers, Raymond and the other kid. I forget the other kid's name.
Armand.
We were beating up all three of them, had them all three bloody in the ring laying, and we called down Ming. Come on down, that was Ming had a big angle against the Rougeaus. Come on, Ming, let's go, kill him. And we're Hawk and I are holding each arm like this, holding Jacques by the back of the hair, like this. And Ming said there, Ming thrust kicks me and thrust kicks Hawk. Now we flew over the top rope for him, right? Now Ming is a stone cold babyface in the middle of the ring with Rougeaus. We sold out that whole summer wherever we went for the Rougeaus, just because of that. Ming was a big, impressive guy.
Did you ever see him in action in any of the bar fights?
Oh yeah. I saw him at East St. Louis one time. Kurt Hennig, who was another guy that did this, stirring the pot, good ribber, did it at this place called the Oz Disco in East St. Louis, which is a place you don't want to get caught messing around in. And yeah, I saw Ming have his finger behind the guy's eye and pull his eye out and say, "You don't stop, brother, I'm going to eat this eye." And he was dead serious. He had about 10 beers in him, you know, half lit, and the guy messed up. And Ming had this like freakish power. He may not have been a guy that benched 800 pounds, right? But he was just a freak.
Scariest guy in the world, but the nicest guy in the world. He could be, look, when 98% of the people in the business are afraid of you, you pretty much could get your own way. And he never took advantage of that. He never used it. He never abused it. He was the nicest guy, still is the nicest guy when I see him. You know, in a business, in a physical business, a lot of times when you have superior physical skills, or, you know, be able to take almost anybody at your will down, you know, guys could take advantage of that sometime. And I never saw him take advantage of that. I know he's gotten in fights on the road, you know, back in the day, and gotten sued and stuff against, you know, fans in bars and stuff. When I had met him, wasn't drinking anymore because he had said that was what would make him go off. But always a gentleman. I had him over to my house for 4th of July barbecues, great to my wife and kids. I got nothing bad to say about Ming. And like most probably everybody you've interviewed has said, probably other than Barbarian, the toughest guy. And Barbarian and Ming would have to fight to see who's tougher, but the two toughest guys probably in the business history.
WCW, I mean, you got Haku, man. You don't mess with that guy, you know.
Would you say he's like the toughest wrestler of that era?
That, you know, back in the day, I could give you a handful. I mean, you got Haku. I've been in LA and some of those things. I've been in St. Louis, and that thing he does, it really works. I mean, we were sitting at a bar, me and Kurt Henning, in St. Louis, and these Marines come in, and they were just joking. They were drinking. By the end of the night, one of them come over and said, "What are you guys hanging out with?" You know, he thought he was black. And I said, "Well, he ain't black, and I, you know, if I was you, I wouldn't." He goes, "Well, we're Marines. We'll do whatever the hell we want." And I said, "Well, not tonight." I said, "It's going to be a bad night. You guys do something with him. And who the hell, you know?" So it just kept going worse, downhill, and then finally a couple went over and started messing with Haku, and it was freaking kick, and up in the throat, and 4 or 5 of them were laying, and the rest of them were looking, and you know, it was me and Kurt and Rude took a couple guys out, and it was over before it even got started.
Did you ever see that side of Ming? I know it doesn't seem like you were out at the club.
I wasn't there at the time. I heard the stories, man, and I heard he could be a beast. Well, more so not Ming, but Barbarian. And they were good friends. That's why I mixed them up. But Barbarian, they said if you put a drink in him, it's like, what is it, Dr. Jekyll?
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde. If you put a drink in Barbarian, he'll tear up a hotel, he'll tear up anything. They said one time it took 13 police to take him down.
I never been in a live action. Be honest with you. I don't know, somehow happened for a reason. No, not to be there. I may get involved, or, you know. So never, I just had action. If you don't mind, I tell you what happened. My partner told me. Warlord told me, I think in Baltimore, I'm sure in Baltimore. You know, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good. Well, I was tired, hurt, so I went to the room and called Mama, make sure everything okay at home. And I never come down. So, long story short, Warlord went down, you know, Terry. He don't drink, he eat a lot. So he order food and he eat food. And Terry told me, "Bob, I'm a big man." I said, "Yeah, I know, you're a big man. I'm a big man. I never hurt, I never get scared in my life until what I've seen." I said, "What have you seen?" I knew he's going to tell me the story. "What have you seen? Tell me." "Bob, your cousin of yours," he called Haku my cousin, like everybody. I was there eating my food, and one guy came, Terry said, "It's all those 35 wrestlers downstairs drinking beer, and all the fans out there. This guy, this idiot just walked straight to Haku. No one else, just walked to Haku. I heard you are the tough son of a bitch in the wrestling business." Haku told him, I don't know who told you that, but please, we are here with all my friends, have a good time. If you don't mind, please, leave me alone. Go, please don't come back. So Terry, I said, oh, something is going to happen. Terry is going to he ate his food a little faster. Here come the same guy, maybe a couple of minutes, here come the same guy. Tell him same question. And Terry, listen, it's right by Terry, Warlord. Haku told the guy, brother, I ask you, please don't come back. Leave us alone. Yeah, I know, same question. I say, go. This is the second time, David. You come back, I'm not saying anything, you come back, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna beat you up so bad, He told me I'm gonna F you up so bad. So the guy, Terry looked, he high-fived with the other two friends. High-five. Terry said, he was praying the guy don't come back. Because he know he come back, that's it. This idiot came back for the third time. You follow me, David? The third time. Third time. Haku never say a word. He just grabbed the guy, put him on his lap. The guy face up. He go down, took the guy's nose. Terry finished his meal right away. He never finished. So that's how scared a big man, And he saw it right in front of him. He said, Bob, I saw it happen right in front of him. So that's how scary this guy, There's a little story. I wasn't there, but the warlord told me what happened.
And for Terry to not finish a meal, that would be pretty bad.
Yeah, he was so scared.
You were talking earlier to me that you know King Tonga, and he's a really tough guy. Do you have any stories about him you want to tell us?
King Tonga, to let you know, I'm going to tell you the truth. If you have a chance to go to hell instead, you might as well go to hell because he's unbelievable. I've seen him, two guys by the throat like this. They were both fainting, and then a kick there, He had 6 guys laying down in the bar, And the bouncer came in, but I knew the owner, and I said, get the bouncer out of there, he's dead. And they got him out, and then I managed to get him out of the bar, but he had been insulted by one idiot that was drunk, and there were 6 of them on the floor within 30 seconds. So take my word, go to hell, instead of going to him.
Started with sumo. And, went into martial art in Japan and all this stuff. It's something that, at the time for us, Bruce Lee was the man, and everybody wants to be a martial art, black belt, or at least, know something about martial art in those days. So yeah, it was Bruce Lee who started all of us to be,
Now, as you probably already know, many people consider you up there with one of the toughest of all time when it comes to professional wrestlers. And there are a lot of legendary stories. And again, we don't know if that's just the legend is carried on or if a lot of that is true. And there's way too many to get into. One of the ones that I remembered is that it was apparently said that you were used by WCW if ever there was anyone who was maybe getting out of line, that either Kevin Sullivan or management would have you there or would use your name as sort of to keep them in line. Now do you feel that your reputation was maybe embellished over years in some aspects, or is there a lot of truth to certain ones of these stories?
No, it was stupid and it was true. Most of them, they had to travel somewhere to beat the shit out of somebody and, all that stuff.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Support us on patreon.com for $1.99 a month to watch our full shoot interviews ad-free and help our channel grow. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.